So welcome to part 5 of our Fleet MS version 3, and today we are going to be talking about fetching some data from PostgreSQL onto Node.js. And we are going to be writing the script to do this. It's going to be JavaScript. Later on we are going to be using TypeScript. But for now I want to go step by step. So we're going to write a simple code using JavaScript to connect to PostgreSQL, fetch some data and display it on the console in Node.js. And later we're going to do an API to actually fetch this data and send it to a URL so that you can actually fetch it using a URL in your browser. So let's just fetch some data for now. So this is going to be a very simple one. I would like to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you've not subscribed, and also leave me a comment to let me know if you are benefiting from my classes, and if you have challenges, also let me know in the comment box below. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is to install the library for connecting to PostgreSQL, and that library is called pg. So npm install pg, I think that is the name, and that is fine. So I'm going to simply create a new file. So let me create a new file, and I'm going to call this file new file. Let me just call it index.js. It's going to be a JavaScript file. Later on, we're going to be setting up TypeScript for this application. So I'm going to create a connection object. I actually did a video on this, so that's why you see this this video here. So I'm looking at it. Okay, so const increase the font a little bit. Const create client should be equal to require pg. Okay, perfect. And the next thing we want to do is to create a client. So the client is going to be what it has all the connection parameters to actually connect to your PostgreSQL database. So it's going to be const client is equal to new client, actually new client like this, and specify the connection parameters here. It's going to be host is going to be local host, and the user is going to be Postgres, and the port is going to be, I think it's an integer, so it's going to be 5432, and then the password is going to be password should be I think the password I use for PostgreSQL is password, and the database this time is going to be fleet db, because we created this database, remember, in part 2, in part 3 or part 4, I can't remember. Okay, so after creating the client, you simply connect it. So let me see. So it's going to be client.connect. Okay, so no parameters taken here, and then you have to use a client to actually query a particular data in your database. So I'm going to say client.query, and then specify the query. I think I should use backticks here. Backticks, where are you? Okay, perfect. Client.query, I'm going to say select star from country. So this is my query. Now, the next thing I'm going to specify here is a callback function that takes 2 parameters. So it's going to take error. When an error occurs, it's also going to take a response. In case of a response comes back, so it's going to be an arrow function like this. I think I'm getting it right. Great. Okay, so we are going to say if error occurs, display error, else display if error occurs, display error message. If not error occurs, display the response. So I'm going to say if error does not occur, if not error, we are going to display the response that comes back. Else, it means error occurs. So else means an error occurs. I'm going to simply say console.log and specify error occurred, I'm going to simply attach the message there. Message. Okay. Okay, so at the end of the day, I'm going to say client dot end. I think that's it. Close them, and I'm going to display console.log response dot rows. Perfect. Okay, so this is basically the key to connecting to fetching data. Simply write the connection parameters and write the query. Any kind of query you want, you'll be able to write it inside the client.query function, and then you'll be able to connect. So for now, we're going to fetch this data and display it right on our console. So let's try to see if it works. And how do we actually see if it works? So we are going to say node index.js, right? So node index.js. So I'm going to say node index.js. Okay, perfect. So what happened here is that you can see that actually it worked. So it fetched as you can see right here, it fetched all the items from our database and it's displaying it right here in our console. So I want you to be comfortable with this, be able to do it very easily. The simple JavaScript, just one JavaScript file that we use to do this. So we've been able to do part 5. In part 6, we are now going to do an API. It's not about displaying on the console this time, but we want to create an API that actually starts a server and is able to serve some data to a URL that can be accessible in the browser. So I'd like to thank you for viewing. Please remember to subscribe to my channel. If you have some challenges, please do let me know in the comment box below. If you want to support me, buy me a coffee or support me on Patreon or something else, connect with me on my social network profile, and I'll always be there to give you any support you need. I remain Kind on the Tech Pro, and I'm always there for you.